Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Allison Connor. Thank you for watching. I recently just graduated from BMT October 8th. I went in on August 18th. So it was only a 7.5 week process and it honestly wasn't really that bad. I'm here to answer all your questions that you might have. I went through during COVID, so things might look a little bit different, and they're still constantly changing things on a daily basis. So this is just my personal experience and what I went through. So when you go through, it might be a little bit different, but really, please feel free to ask me any questions that you think you might have in the box down below, and I will do my best to answer. So let's get started. I wrote down some notes, so hopefully this can keep me on track. Let's see. How long is BMT? Yes, BMT is 7.5 weeks, and they are looking to possibly keep that 7.5 weeks. So they try to condense everything from 8.5 weeks to 7.5 weeks. So some things are cut out. As of right now, they do not have the gas chamber, and they said they're looking to possibly not bring that back. Don't quote me on that though, because they could bring it back. Let's see. Beast is also shortened to 2 days. When we went, it was like supposed to be 4 days, but we were there on the 3rd day, and we were coming back from the shooting range, and they said, hey, when you get back to camp, everybody's packing their bags, we're leaving. We're like, what's going on? They didn't really tell us why. We just followed orders and did what we were told, but all the flights after us only get 2 days as of right now. And let's see, a little bit of the things that we did at Beast was we did a lot of details. We would clean the tents, we would sweep, some people would pull weeds. We also, we did like a bomb drill. That was actually really cool. So we'd hear this loud noise, people would grab their guns, they would go post, and then they had people all running to like where the bomb shelter was going to be, and then we would get accountability, and that was honestly a really fun drill that we did. And then we also did the obstacle course. The obstacle course is a little bit altered because of COVID, so we don't get to do, I think they closed the climbing wall and they didn't have the rope swing over the pool, but we did get to crawl through the sand. I looked like a sugar cookie. That was honestly one of my favorite parts. I had like braids with cornrows in them. Ladies, braid your hair because it helps, because you're in the dirt and stuff. And it helps because the showers there aren't terrible, but they're not as easy to wash hair, especially if you have longer hair. So just braid your hair, kind of helps hold things. But anyway, I had like sand caked in there, and it was honestly one of my favorite parts. And you get to climb this molehill full of mulch and get all this exercise, monkey bars, balancing things. It was really fun. I actually quite thoroughly enjoyed. You will not get to wear the equipment like the helmet and the vest thing because of COVID. They don't want everybody sharing stuff. So we didn't have that. Uniforms. As far as uniforms go, we did not get issued our uniforms until the 3rd week of training. So when you first get to boot camp, you'll be in your civilian clothes. I would say pack at least 3 days worth of civilian clothes. Also, make sure you pack moleskin, because when you do get issued your uniforms, you get issued your boots, and your boots will cause blisters on some people. I never got them, but I had a lot of friends that did, and I packed moleskin and was able to share that with people. So they go through phasing to where you'll wear your tennis shoes, and then you'll wear your boots like half and half. So half the day you'll wear tennis shoes, half the day your boots, and then by 4th week you just wear your boots. So just make sure you bring those band-aids. And then the uniform's super cool. It was one of my most favorite parts because you're like, wow, I feel like a military. Because like I said, when you first get there, for the first 3 days, you wear your civilian clothes, and then they issue you your PT gear, and you wear your PT gear up until the 3rd week. So that was honestly one of my favorite parts. Let's see. As far as what to pack, don't pack too much. Like I said, 3 days worth of clothes, band-aids, everything on that list that your recruiter gave you. Maybe a couple things you want for tech school, but like maybe a watch or something. Oh yes, please bring a watch, because some people forgot their watches, and that helps you keep track of time, and your MTIs will constantly be saying, hey, at this time be here. So make sure you bring a watch, because some people forgot, and you'll have to wait till you get a run to the BX to do so. You are on 2 weeks of quarantine. They call it ROM, which is restriction of movement when you first get there. So you're still allowed to go around the squadron and to the dining facility, but you're not allowed to march anywhere outside of that squadron. So until the second week after your second COVID testing, then you're out of ROM and they can march you different places, and you're allowed to go to the BX and allowed to purchase stuff. So definitely bring some personal hygiene items and things you might need before that 2 weeks is over, is all that I would recommend. Oh, let's see, what do we eat? So as far as the dining facility, that's a fun topic that I really do love talking about, because the dining facility was stressful for me when I first got there, because you hear all the yelling, and then there's chow runners, which I will touch on in a minute. The food is really good. We had chicken and fish, beef, hamburgers, pork. They have some vegetarian items. They always had salads every day, fruits. So the food is really good. The chicken, for some reason, I don't know why, is always a little bit dry. But then again, it depended on the day. But still get it, try it, and thank the dining facility staff, because I know they do a lot for us to prepare all that. And we also eat a lot of starches too. They have lots and lots of starches, because when you run, you need starches, but I'm not saying go and fill your whole plate up with starches, because yes, you do need that for energy, but you also don't need starches as your main course and meal, because I did see people do that. I'm like, what are you doing? My advice is to keep your plate colorful. You know, have a little bit of starch, have your proteins, have your vegetables, have your fruits, and try to keep your plate colorful. They also have tags, like if it's a red tag, it's something that you shouldn't eat as much. Yellow tag is you can eat it every once in a while, and then green is you should eat that more often. So they have different tags to kind of color code what you should or shouldn't eat, but I just kind of mixed all the tags together and tried to balance that as best as I could. And then they have chow runners, so your flight will be standing outside and they send in 2 chow runners. And for me, I thought this was stressful, because they told us when we got there, they said, everybody here is going to be a chow runner. And they did. They had everybody in the flight to be a chow runner. I got to do it 8 times, because as I got better with drill and people, it would make them nervous, I would volunteer, like, hey, I'll do it for you today. Yeah, it is nerve-wracking. I remember standing there shaking like a leaf, and yeah, they might yell at you because you go in and you stand before this table and all the MTIs are there. They like to call it the snake pig, but I wouldn't call it that, because yeah, they might yell at you and like, no, you did the movement wrong, or you said that wrong, because you have to march up and be like, sir, training Connor reports is ordered. Sir, flight 746, dorm Bravo 1 is prepared to enter the dining facility from the west side. They're like, bring them in. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And then you have to do your about phase and march off, and then you go call on your flight. When you mess up, yeah, they scream at you or whatever, but then they stop and they instruct you and they tell you how to do it. And I could see how they were trying to make me better. And honestly, it's an experience that I'm glad our whole flight had to go through. Not all MTIs do that, but our MTIs did. So I was thankful for that and the opportunity and the experience. You call in your flight, and then when the flight comes in, the second chow runner goes up and is like, sir, trainee, whatever their name is, I'm just going to use mine. Sir, trainee Connor reports as ordered. The first trainee from flight 746, door 4 Bravo 1 has entered the dining facility from the west side. They're like, all right, bring them in. Like, bring them in. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And then they go and they seat the flight, and then the other chow runner goes and eats. So chow is a huge process every single day, but don't let it be nervous, because I know you might be nervous your first couple days, but honestly, it does get so much better and you grow so much as a person. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm keep referring to my notes because I get sidetracked so easily. When do we get paid? Yeah, so we get paid usually a month after being there. Active duty people do. The guard and reserve people, they usually get paid within 2 weeks after being there, because they've already been in the system and already have been getting paid. But for us who was active duty, me, we didn't get paid till a month after being there. We got our phones every once a week, and we'd get like 5-minute phone calls, just due to COVID, because normally you don't get that many phone calls. But we did get once a week, and then our MTIs let us check our bank accounts to make sure we were getting paid. And some people didn't get paid because there was some kind of issue with the system. And they have financial counselors there, and they will work with you and they will get you your money. So please don't stress about it. Some people didn't have enough money and they were able to give them an advance. That way they weren't like in financial distress. But if you get like, say, a $400 advance, that's going to come out of your next paycheck. So just keep that in mind. Just make sure you're budgeting and you have money in your account. That way your bills are being paid, and they'll definitely let you check your bank account. So that way you don't fall behind. Let's see, what else is there? What did we do? Okay, so a lot of the things that we did at BMT was details. So details, they have different ones. They had like the latrine crew. They would clean showers, they would clean sinks, they would do the floor, getting hair off the floor. Like, hair ladies, get the hair off the floor. When you take a shower, make sure you clean up your hair because hair gets everywhere. Make sure the stall doors are clean. We had laundry crew. They were doing laundry throughout the day, responsible for getting all the laundry passed out and stuff. And then we had day room crew. The day room is where we have our meetings with the MTI. They would basically sweep and mop in there. We had bed liners. They'd make sure the beds were all straight and in a row. They had shoe liners who would take the shoes up so the people could sweep and mop. And then they'd line the shoes back up. They had the phasers. The phasers were the people that would like kind of clean the lockers. And I don't know where Texas dust comes from, but it just shows up every single day. Maybe it's people's dead skin. I don't know, but I would literally dust, and then there'd be more dust like that evening, because you do details in the morning and evening. So there's constantly dust everywhere. Fire monitors. So I was fire monitor. That was the one that I didn't know was a detail. I was like, what? So if they ever say, who wants to be fire monitor, and they let you volunteer, be like, me. So fire monitors take out the trash every morning or night, depending how full the trash is. So I always got to go downstairs, and sometimes I'd see the sunset or morning sunrise. I found that to be very fun, kind of stress relieving. And then chow. Every time we would go to chow, the fire monitors hold the door open, and they call the flight element. They'd say, first element, prepare to enter the dining facility. And then the first element be like, proceeding, ma'am. And then they would line up, and then you would open the door for them as they would go inside. And then you would monitor and make sure too many people weren't going in all at once, and you would just keep calling in the elements. I found it very fun because I got to go last every single day eating. And then I just loved seating people and just having that opportunity. It was such a fun job, and I really liked it. There was also utility crew. So utility crew keeps all the supplies going. They keep everything full, and they distribute out the supplies. So when people are preparing for details and coming to grab all the rags and the cleaners, utility crew is like, here you go, and then they would receive it back. So they just kind of distribute, keep things full. I might be missing some of the details. I can't remember. There's EC monitors. So EC, I'm going to talk about that. So EC is entry control. Entry control is kind of like guarding the door, and you have like your little M16 weapon. It's a fake weapon. It's not actually real, but you carry it as if it's the real thing. You treat it with respect, and then you kind of guard the door, who comes inside the dorm, who goes outside the dorm. If the MTI walks in the room and it's of the opposite gender, for instance, we had a male MTI, we would yell, gentlemen entering the dormitory, and then everybody would yell that, echo that, just to let know, hey, there's a male present here. And then we had EC, so you just basically guard the door, see who goes in and out, and other MTIs try to come in, and if they're on the roster, and you would ask, how may I help you? They would show CAT card, and then you would see if they're on the roster. If they're not, then you ask your MTI, like, hey, so-and-so is here. Are they allowed to come in? So you just monitor who goes in and out. And then they do try to test you too, so make sure you know your EC. And they'll teach you all that when you get there. They give you instructions. Let's see. Yeah, they'll give you instructions how to do that. And you also have shifts throughout the night. They're only 2-hour shifts every time you do work EC. So there's some nights you do get sleep, some nights you don't get as much. But try to keep a positive attitude because it could be worse. You could be working a 12-hour shift. You know, there's people in security forces that do it every day. So just try to keep a positive mindset throughout that whole process. And then, dude, I'm trying to remember everything. I don't want to miss any information for you guys. Let's see, what is other questions that you guys might have? Oh, we pulled weeds. We also did details outside of the dorm sometimes. They had us to just go clean around camp, pick up any trash. That was fun. We also did a lot of law walker. What did they call it? There's a specific name. Wall walkers. Anyway, we would go in our... That's gonna bother me. I really wish I could remember what it's called. Anyway, there's an abbreviation, but basically we would work on wall lockers. We would fold our clothes. We did that a lot, actually. Just really worked on where our areas looked like, our end of bed display. Make sure shoes are lined up, make sure everything's perfect. We clipped strings for what felt like forever. But you do get graded on that. They do have wall locker inspections. And then we did a lot of classes, sitting down and trying to stay awake mostly, but just take notes and study. The end of course test, I'm not allowed to disclose or give you information on that. All I'm going to say on the matter is make sure you're studying. Make sure you're studying all the questions in the back of the book, and make sure you're studying the book from cover to cover. For me, I just made sure that I would set time aside to study, and yes, it's fun to talk to people and stuff, but I just made sure that I was able to study the questions at the end of each chapter, make sure I could answer those and become familiar with the material. That's what really helped me, and you'll do just fine, I promise. So please don't stress about that. We also did a lot of drill. Our MTIs would take us outside and we would do left phase, right phase, flanks. There's left flank, right flank. They just teach you all the drills and the movements. And it was super cool. Sometimes the MTIs would take us, we would do jodies, we would sing as we would march. And that was honestly one of my most favorite parts of BMT. Also, the PT, I wanted to talk about that because one of the other questions is where do I need to be to physically pass? Because that was something that I was super, super nervous about before coming into BMT. But, so the minimum requirements are 18 push-ups, 38 sit-ups, and a 1.5 mile run under 16 minutes. So I haven't made sure that I prepared before going, so that way I wouldn't be nervous about it. We did have people there that couldn't do push-ups or run. They were doing push-ups by the end, but I would say the running was probably the hardest part. So just make sure that you are at least meeting those minimum requirements before going in, because it is condensed into the 7.5 weeks. I think we had 4 people in my flight that did get recycled because they didn't pass the PT test because they weren't prepared. But you will be doing push-ups, I promise. Like, they do 1x3s, which you basically do push-ups and sit-ups like 3 times a day throughout the day, on top of the PT. So they have like a PT schedule that really will help you build up to that if you aren't exactly where you need to be. And if you get recycled, it's not the end of the world. It just means you need more time to adapt and make sure you are reaching the physical levels that you need to be at. I would say don't aim for the minimum. I would say you need to give your 110% and really, really work towards making sure you're physically fit, because being in the Air Force, you're always going to have that PT test. If you make a 90 or above, you only have to test once every year. And then if you make below a 90, you'll have to do 2 PT tests a year. So just always make sure you're fit, because you're always going to have those tests to try to pass. And if you're not eating healthy or taking care of yourself, it's going to be hard trying to get prepared for that. For me, before going in, I would run maybe a mile, maybe 2, a couple times a week. So I wouldn't say I was the best runner, but I know getting really, really good shoes helped me because I used to get really bad shin splints. And my recruiter told me, hey, what kind of shoes are you wearing? And I went to Fleet Feet and got my feet measured, got some really good shoes, and I never had shin splints during the whole process at BMT, which really helped me. But yeah, for sure, just make sure that you are keeping on schedule as far as doing that. I was doing 18 push-ups going into BMT, and I came out doing 45 to 50 push-ups, so I was really excited about that. My run time was 16 minutes to 1.5 miles, and I got it down to 13:25. I was part of the 320th training squadron, and we were the first squadron to do the new PT program that they're going to be introducing to all the squadrons, so we were kind of the guinea pigs. And they didn't give us as many run days. We only got 2 full run days before the final PT test, so definitely make sure you can run, because I think that's the hardest part. They were seeing a lot of injuries in people, so they decided to cut the running back, and there's less injuries now. But that also means that not a lot of people are passing the running part, so definitely work on yourself as far as that goes. And then the new PT test isn't hard. We have a lot of strength days, we have a lot of sit, cardio, new exercises they've never done before, and then some of the exercises are still the same as the old, and then there's just new incorporated exercises. But overall, it really wasn't that bad. BMT isn't that bad. It's just something that you mentally have to push through, and it's not hard. You get better. But I wish you guys really a good journey. If you have any questions, please feel free. I am happy to be here and answer for you. And I love being an airman. I love doing what I want to do. I want to be here for you guys. So I wish you well on your journey, or if you're even thinking of joining. So have a blessed day, and I will catch you next time.